proportionally to time. So, enough of the example, now back to reality. But what to do if the state and its representatives are at your doorstep exerting pressure? They are not sworn officials, so for now, remain calm. Without the signature of sworn official, judge, public prosecutor, according to section 126 BGB para 1. There are no sworn officials in the FRJ. The document is worthless. Although it is valid, it is not legally binding. By the way, the police know this too, since they are also privately insured and not through the state. Without the judge's signature, the police are personally liable. Unless you voluntarily go with the police, free will reigns supreme. But there's a magic phrase that can tie the police's hands. And that would be, I will not answer any questions. Because this statement primarily asserts that you do not wish to answer, at least not out of your own free will. You have freely decided not to speak. Because the only thing the police want to achieve with the questioning is to twist your words into a flawed statement. And even if you made a mistake, the officer would interpret that as a false statement. And from now on, they will twist every word you say to back you into a corner. But you have the right to remain silent. The right. Never forget that. You owe no explanation to anyone, especially not to the police officers. And by saying, I don't answer questions, you show the police that you know your rights and have the courage to enforce them in practice. Because this statement says nothing more than, I am exercising my free will to uphold a God-given right. The only important thing here is that the conversation must be recorded on video to hold up in court. So, don't tell the police officers that they will only record the rest of the conversation with video and audio. Because we all know how the trial would end without video and audio recordings, don't we? Right? So him working in the public sector doesn't equate to his word being trustworthy. Because public servants aren't private individuals, at least not while he's in the service, but a part of the public service, life and state structure. You all didn't know that. The policeman deceived you, and you still went with him. And they even somehow managed to wear you down in court. First off, you enter through the spectator entrance, where you will remain standing for the duration. But why stay standing in the viewing area? The court proceeding only becomes valid when both parties recognize the judge. This is done, among other things, by sitting down in the courtroom, using the appropriate forms of address, and not interrupting at the start of the trial. So, we never use your case numbers in your responses, in any letters, or any other documents. It would be better not to write them down at all. The courtroom is split into two sections. The first being the merchant ship of the captain, the representative of the Federal Republic of Germany GmbH, meaning the judge in the courtroom. A quick note to those on the right, who very well know they're playing pretend with a self-assumed sworn authority of a judge that isn't rightfully theirs. In 1962, paragraph 15 of the Courts Constitution Act GVG was deleted. Its wording was that courts are state courts made by so-called Federal Association Act 2016-20 for the Federal Republic of Germany. But there isn't a Federal Republic of Germany, but rather a Federal Republic of Germany GmbH, and there isn't a state territory, but a federal territory. Because if a law lacks jurisdiction, it can't be enforced and is thus legal and valid. Ergo, there is no basic law as it lacks a moving area of its own. What do you all do when the mask is ripped off my face and I can't play its part anymore? I hope these people realize now that they've been playing correctly for a long time, but were never part of it. So where was I? Alright, in this courtroom of a merchant ship, the judge can now act according to sea and commercial laws And the second partition area is always the sea land outside the courtroom where the spectators and neutrals sit. Considering we are in BRD GmbH, we are all under the sea and commercial laws. That's why he has no legal power over this imaginary land outside his court. And that's exactly why we're standing in this spectator area to not accidentally accept the trial. We have ready to hand our life declaration postulated below, the life statement in the east, and a sheet signed by us with 3 questions before the judge starts the trial, and importantly, it should be before the beginning of the trial, otherwise we will recognize the court again. I would politely ask that 3 questions be clarified before the start of negotiations. Then I would immediately ask to be allowed to present the papers in front of the judge. This is the only time you board this merchant ship. After that, you immediately return to the imaginary land and stand there again. That's where you stay and start talking. Wait to see how the judge responds. If he then starts the legal proceedings disregarding the preceding and does not address these 3 points before the start of proceedings, you can, if necessary, say at this point, "Stop. I do not recognize this court and you as a judge," as long as these 3 questions haven't been addressed before the start of proceedings. If he tries to start the proceedings regardless, you make the following demand. Until you provide me with a sworn statement that you're a salaried judge of a legally established state, and you clearly show me your official ID, not your service card, the trial won't commence. Why an official ID and not a service card? Anyone can have a service card, but only those who've been raised to a position can have an official ID. Then try to explain it politely again. Again, I kindly ask you to do so. I appeared today only to resolve these 3 questions before the beginning of the negotiations. And if this court can't resolve these 3 questions, we'll take it to an international court. And I'm also open to the International Court of Justice if need be. At which point the judge would eventually want to know your true identity. And there's only one correct answer here. I am the beneficiary of the individual and I won't take trusteeship over the person. The judge will have this noted because now he has the black desk on. From that moment on, he is the trustee of that person who is being negotiated. So now he is on trial, because now the judge on his own merchant ship is the trustee for the person, the accused. It should be noted that our judges and lawyers cannot hold judgments over people, only over legal and natural persons. Once he's done that, I emphasize again. I ask you to answer these 3 questions before the start of the negotiations. If this is not possible for you, we will clarify these questions before an international court. Then the judge will make a note that you did not appear. From that point on, the judge has rejected his sovereign. From this point forward, you are the supreme sovereign, for you are empowered to order the termination of the proceedings if these 3 questions have not been resolved before the start of negotiation. The questions are as follows. 1. Can the court negotiate over people? 2. Does the court have unlimited and non-expiring liability? 3. Is the court sovereign and can it prove this under oath before an international court? Well, all my moves are now past and the game is over. And my work is completed. But those who feel devoted to the conscious true light have an advantage, who no longer need to hide in darkness.